Okay, welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Today we're going to attempt to do a Indian motorcycle sign, and we'll go over here and create a new file. Our width is 22.5, our height is 48, and our thickness is 1.25. We're going to go from the material surface, XY, left-hand corner, and we're going to do standard. Pretty easy sign, I think. Hit OK, and there's our sign. Now, I'm going to go up here and import a bitmap, and I've already collected this Indian sign. I don't know how good it is, but I kind of looked at it and it seemed pretty good. So we'll go ahead and click on that, go over to our little bird trace bitmap, and preview and apply. Close that. Then we can delete the actual image, and there's our traced bitmap. Now, before I start moving this thing around on here, what we need to do is ungroup it, ungroup to back to original layers, click out of there. Now we're going to go get rid of a couple things. Like I don't need this little trademark thing there, and actually everything else is pretty good on it. I don't see any other problems. So now what we'll do is we're going to cut this out. So what we want to do is highlight everything on the inside and then group all that stuff together and just zoom around and grab everything. Okay, now we're going to group that. So now we should have the outside should already be grouped right there, and then the inside should be grouped. Okay, now what we need to do is resize this thing. So we're going to select all, and the first thing we're going to do is rotate it. So we'll highlight it and go down here and see how it has a little circle with an arrow. We'll go ahead and rotate this right about there. Now we want to make it as big as we can on this material. Right about there. So that's looking pretty good. So now let's go over to our toolpaths and see how this thing turns out. So the first thing I'm going to do is a V-carve. So I'll highlight the inner circle, the inner stuff. I'll go over to the V-carve. Not going to use a clearance tool, just going to V-carve it. And leave all this the same. We'll go ahead and use that same bit, 1502. I'll put a picture right here. It's a white side 90-degree V-carve. Let's view that. And that doesn't look too bad, actually. So let's go ahead and go back to the 2D, click out of there, highlight our outside piece. So let's select, let's find our mana bits right down here. So this Amana tool is a 46176. Let's see if we can find it here. 4.6 right there. Now this only has a cut depth of 1 inch. So we're going to change this. We're going to change this. Let's go back here and change this to 3/4. So we'll go 0.75. And then we'll go select that bit again. Go back down to Amana. 46176K. 47176K. Right there. And we're going to select that. And it says it can do it in 3 passes. Now, it's going down 1 inch, so that's 1/4 inch at a time. Let's go ahead and add another pass. We're not in a hurry. And hit OK. And all this stuff will stay the same. We'll go ahead and put our bit number in here. 46176. Okay. And let's hit calculate. And we'll preview. Now this never made it deep enough for the tabs, so I'm not gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the rest of it out with my bandsaw and then use a profile cutting bit to finish it off. That's what I'm hoping to do. Because this bit only goes an inch. Actually, that looks cool though. Look at the Indian, he looks pretty good. Okay, I'm gonna save these and I will see you over at the machine. First thing I do is start the homing sequence. And right there it homes over to the corner. Right here I do the XYZ on the touch plate. Next up I put the dust collection boot back on, warm up the spindle, and then let it run. And this is 8 times speed right here. And it's going to cut out all the center, it's going to V-carve all the center stuff of the Indian. I did upgrade my dust collection on this machine a little bit. I took out one of the 90s and then I installed a T with another shut-off so that I could get the most amount of suction coming out of this hose as possible. And it did work really well on this sign. I didn't get any external chips or anything. Matter of fact, it was pretty clean when it was done, actually. Here's another view from the GoPro, and right here it finishes up the V-carve, and I change out to a Mana 1/8" bit, and I'll show you a picture of it right here. Right there I do the XYZ on the Mana bit. Put the dust shoe on and let it go. Now what I did was I decided I wasn't going to cut all the way through, so I made about 4 passes with this 1/8" bit, and the material is about 1 1/4" right now, and I went down 0.75. But if I did one of these again, I wouldn't do that. I would cut all the way. I would put another piece of material on the spoil board and cut all the way through, because it made it a little difficult to cut that out, and it would have been a lot cleaner if I just cut right through. But that's all learning. It still came out really nice. I'll show you a picture pretty soon. Once I get that all cut out, I needed to clamp this thing down and jigsaw it out. So I hung it over the edge, and I used some of these Rockler clamps in my T-track and got out my Bosch jigsaw with a small fine blade, and then proceeded to very carefully cut this out. Like I said, I wouldn't do that again. I would go ahead and cut it all the way through with maybe a couple tabs. But I thought, because I didn't have the material on top of the spoil board, I didn't want to risk hitting my T-tracks. Once I get that all done, I take it over to my JESM router lift, and I have a flush bit in there. I hook up the dust collection and I run it around the whole thing. Now I wouldn't go into I need to get a smaller flush bit. It got around most of it, but inside the feathers, in the deep part of the feathers, it wouldn't go all the way in there. But it looked pretty good. After cleaning up, I then get it ready to paint. And the first thing I needed to do was take the Dremel and clean up some of the little burrs. And I had this little sanding tool that worked pretty good, and it cleaned off any burrs that were on there. I then got out the Zinsser wood sealer and I sealed the whole thing. After I get the whole thing sealed and let it dry, then it would be ready to paint. I do a little sanding on the Zinsser just to scuff it up a little bit. And the first thing I'm going to do is paint the red, because the whole body of the thing is going to be red. This was a pretty bright red, but I liked how it looked on the wall when it was all done. Now you'll see up on the left of the wall, I have a Santa Stop Here sign and a Fresh Eggs sign. And I think this motorcycle sign is going to look a lot cooler than those signs. So even though I like those signs in my shop, I think this will look a lot cooler. After I let that dry, I get some white paint and I start detailing out the letters. And this was a pain in the ass, so I'm not going to do this again. Next time I will definitely use the aura mask. But for some reason, I guess I thought it was too big and it would waste a lot of the aura mask. But I'll tell you what, the time it takes to detail paint in the letters, it's pretty tough. Anyway, that's what I do for the next, I painted in these letters off and on for a couple days. And here's what it ended up looking like. Thanks for watching this episode of Outlaw Woodworking. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, like it, and I will see you next time. The Indian motorcycle sign came out really nice. It looks a lot better up here than the Santa sign. It's a little cooler. But the next time we're going to do a Harley Davidson sign. But this time we're going to use the aura mask because it was a pain in the ass to paint the inside of the letters and stuff. So I'm going to use the aura mask next time and hopefully I'll be successful. Anyway, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you next time. Later.